Hi, I'm Pastor Tim, and today we're going to talk about the final habit for highly effective Christians, and that's called Sharpen the Saw. Improving and reviving your mind, body, spirit, and skills. It's all about improving, getting better, but also taking the time to rest so that you can perform at your optimal performance level. It all starts with sharpening the saw. We're going to watch a quick video from YouTube to cover very quickly the seventh habit, sharpen the saw.
Which is sharpen the saw. Now, there's this guy and he's cutting down this huge tree with this saw. And the blades are getting a little dull. And he's been at it for 4 or 5 hours and he's getting frustrated. So his friend comes up and says, "Hey, why don't you take 20, 30 minutes and sharpen the saw?" And the guy goes, "No, I can't do that. I need to work on cutting down the tree." And he fails to see that if he would sharpen the saw, he could cut down the tree faster.
I want to pause here just for a moment because we do that all the time, don't we? We think we have to go faster. We have to get the project done, but we don't take time to get the skills or the information or take the time to investigate in order to do it right. I've used a chainsaw so much that in my past, I would just let it run, and it was just shooting powder at me at the end. And I was like, why isn't this saw cutting? Well, this chain was no longer sharp. When I sharpened the blade, all of a sudden, boom, I wasn't spending 30 seconds per log. I was spending about 5 seconds a log. It all was improved simply by sharpening the saw. Now he's going to apply it to 4 different stages of life.
On life a lot. I'm going to give you some examples that Stephen Covey mentions. The first is physical. For example, a lot of times we forget to exercise, to weightlift, to do some cardio, maybe 30 minutes a day, 3 or 4 times a week. And this will benefit our health greatly, but we forget to do it. Or we rather are too lazy to do it. We don't want to do it. And in doing this, when we become sick or ill, 30 or 40 years down the road, we become reactive when we blame the environment as opposed to being proactive in the first habit and blaming ourselves and taking responsibility that we should have exercised or eaten right. Even preparing food. Some people don't even prepare the right food, go out and buy healthy carrots and strawberries and other just not junk food. And this is an example of sharpening the saw in your physical state. Now, you can also sharpen the saw in your mental state. Examples of this would be stuff like reading or writing. You can try to read a book a week maybe. I'm actually aiming for a book a day. And writing. I don't write as often as I probably should. But some people, you can also plan. Planning is also a great mental exercise. The next is emotional. And stuff like this would be services, helping your community, creating synergistic environments, and developing your relationships, your personal relationships and friendships you have with other people. The next would be spiritual. And stuff in this category would include stuff like value clarification, your commitments, stuff that includes your deep core principles, even stuff as prayer and meditation. David O. McKay once said, "The greatest battles of life are fought in the silent chambers of the soul." And I think that is a really interesting quote, so I put that on here. Anyways, habit 7 is sharpen the saw.
So here is a visual overview of habit 7, sharpen the saw. 4 quadrants: body, mind, heart, and soul. Again, you can drill down deep on each of these levels, and we will look at least 3 of them over the next few days. We often have excuses why not to sharpen our saw, why not to improve our minds or our bodies. And one might be, I don't have time to organize my calendar. I don't have time to do that because I'm so busy doing these things. And yet, sometimes we miss things that are most important by not putting them on a calendar that's organized and structured. Next, I don't have time to prepare. I just want to get it done. It's like that guy saying, I don't have time to sharpen my saw. Well, dude, you'd be done if you sharpened your saw already. So sometimes we make the excuse we don't have time when we should make the time, especially if we want to get it done. Also, I don't have time to learn how to use that tool. For me, technology was a hurdle for a long time. How do I use Screencastify? How do I post things to YouTube? It was a hurdle for me. I don't have time to learn. Well, now during this time, I do, and I'm thankful for it. And I have the ability to grow, to sharpen my own saw, get better. I don't have time to get finished what I have done. How am I supposed to get better? I barely have time to do anything else. I make that excuse all of the time. Now, sometimes we need to pare down what we do so we are only focused on what is the most important. But sometimes we use that excuse, I can't get better. I don't have time. I've used it many times before. Ecclesiastes 10 teaches us a simple lesson. If the axe is dull and one does not sharpen the edge, then he must use more strength. But wisdom brings success. Sharpen the axe and you'll be way more efficient. Abraham Lincoln actually quoted Ecclesiastes in a way when he said, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Abraham Lincoln knew preparation, sharpening the saw was essential to being effective. The Ecclesiastes verse talked about using more strength. And I guess that's good if you're trying to exercise, but Uncle Scrooge always used to say in DuckTales, work smarter, not harder. And I think if we work smarter, then we're going to be able to do more of those things that we truly enjoy. So today we're going to talk about one of those quadrants very briefly, sharpening the mind. And he covered it well in the video. He talked about reading. This is the way we grow. It's the way we learn. We read a book. When I'm looking to solve a problem, right now I go to the internet. How do I propagate this type of plant? I'm trying to grow my garden using stuff I already have in it. I'm studying how to do it. Another thing he suggested is writing things down. I am a better writer because I type so much each and every week. I'm more efficient at what I say. I'm better at my grammar because I'm doing it regularly. We sharpen our minds by writing. Or you could take a class. You guys have to go to school in many cases because you're students. Now, I can take a class, an online class, or I can go back and audit a class to grow my mental capacity. I go to class more through reading a book than actually attending a class. My teachers are authors. When I want to learn about something, I'll go to a book and I'll spend time reading it, absorbing it, sharpening my mind. I recently had a discussion with someone about trying to challenge themselves to sharpen the saw. And I said, do you want to remain at the same intelligence level for the rest of your life? Do you want to stay where you're at now? Or do you want to grow? Do you want to sharpen the saw? In your future vocations, you'll need to be continually growing, strengthening the muscle of the mind so you can be more efficient, more productive, and safer in all that you do. For being great at something takes a lot of time. It takes 6 to 10 years to get great at something, depending on how often and how much you do it. Some estimate that it takes 10,000 hours to master something. That's a lot of time. Grow the mind, sharpen the saw, start getting better at those skills that you want to excel at. And the Bible echoes this in talking about sharpening our mind and making ourselves better. From 1 Corinthians 3, don't you know that you yourselves are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in your midst? If anyone destroys God's temple, God will destroy that person. For God's temple is sacred, and you together are that temple. You are God's temple. Let's improve it. Let's work at it. Let's make our minds, our bodies, our hearts, and our souls stronger so that we can live for Him. Improve this temple. And specifically today, improve your mind. For whatever you do in word or deed, do all of it in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. Use your mind, your body, your spirit, your soul to serve him. So sharpen the saw, specifically today, the saw of your mind. Figure it out, sharpen it up, make it better for the future by working on it and sharpening it today. God's blessings to you this day.